Okay. So, good evening. Welcome to the Plan Amendment virtual meeting to discuss NPA 2021-0009.01. My name is Maureen Meredith. I work for the City of Austin Housing and Planning Department, and I do all the Plan Amendment cases that come through the city. If you haven't done so already, please let us know who is here through the chat box. If you are associated with an organization, if you could please include that. I will use this as our sign-in sheet for the meeting. Please mute your microphone if you are joining by phone, and also if you're online, please turn off your video if you're participating online to save the bandwidth. And as you probably know, this meeting is being recorded, and it will be posted to the Speak Up Austin website. So how to participate today. The speech bubble in the menu bar that will be at either the bottom or top of your screen will open the chat box where you can type in questions at any time. Please limit general comments until the end of the Q&A session. After presentations, click on the raise hand icon to be called on to speak. As you know, this is in the Central East Austin planning area and the Plaza Saltillo Station area plan and regulating plan. As I mentioned earlier, my name is Maureen Meredith. I am the Plan Amendment Case Manager, and Jesse can introduce himself, and then the agents and the applicants can introduce themselves.
Sure. Hi, good evening, everyone. Jesse Gutierrez, also with Housing and Planning, and I'm here to assist if there's any questions that Maureen might need help with.
My name is Dave Anderson. I'm here representing the applicant. It's good to see a lot of familiar faces.
Anil Naik with the Drenner Group as well, here representing the applicant.
This is Tyler Boykin with Mahoney Engineering, here representing the applicant.
Is there anyone else?
Keith Buchanan with the applicant.
Okay.
I'm Luke Thompson, and I'm on the applicant. I apologize. I'm on by phone, having some trouble logging in, but I'm here.
Okay, excellent. Okay. So here's my contact information, and I'll always also have this information at the end of the presentations. Heather Chafin is the zoning case manager, and here is her contact information as well. The agenda tonight, I will go over basic case information, how to participate in the process, why is there a plan amendment application, what is a future land use map. After my presentation, the applicant's agent will do their presentation, and then we'll open the floor to questions and answers. So the property address is 1612 East 7th Street. The lot size is 6,210 square feet. The plan amendment case number is NPA 2021-0009.01. The project name is 1612 East 7th Street. The existing future land use is specific regulating district, and there is no change. The associated zoning case number is C14-2021-0132. The proposed zoning request is to change the existing zoning of corridor mixed use to TOD mixed use. Property owner applicant is John Hernandez, and the agent is Dave Anderson with Drenner Group.
Can I ask a question very quickly before we move forward?
Sure.
My name is Marion. I do work for the city, but I'm here for myself. I do own property in East Austin. And I'm curious to know who else is in the room that is not representing the applicant or work for the city of Austin.
If people want to introduce themselves, if you feel comfortable, go ahead.
I'm a property owner nearby. I'm Hesita.
I'm Nathan Jones. I put my info in the chat as well if you want to check that out. President of Ocean and Vice President of Blackshear Prospect Hill Neighborhood Association. And I'm also a resident.
Anyone
Is it
else?
fair?
What was that?
So are we only 3 people representing community present in the room?
It's looking like that.
So I do have an issue that we're only 3 of us here discussing something that will change our neighborhood.
Well, I mean,
People-
I know we're- Go
People
ahead,
had the
Mary.
opportunity to attend, so they chose not to. It's not uncommon to have low turnout, even when we had in-person meetings. It's people's choice to attend or not to attend. This meeting will be recorded and it will be posted to the Speak Up Austin website. So if people wanted to watch the video and see what was discussed tonight, they have that option too.
I understand. I'm still having a philosophical concern that it's only 3 of us in the room. And I know that you mail a letter because that's how I got it.
Yes.
And I'm wondering if whatever got done was enough for people to know this meeting was happening.
This is the standard procedure. This is just an informational meeting. So there's only so much we can do. It's their choice. I mean, we sent out the notice. I sent out reminders to the planning contact team. People chose not to attend. I don't know what else to say. Anyway, I'll continue with the meeting. So we have guidelines for group discussion. Please feel free to type your questions into the chat at any time during this meeting. Please postpone general comments during the Q&A session. After staff and applicant presentations, if you would like to speak, please raise your hand by clicking on the hand symbol on the menu bar. Telephone participants will be able to speak during the Q&A session of the meeting. Attendees will be muted upon arrival and through the staff and applicant presentations. Then the staff will open the floor to answer questions in the chat by attendees raising their hands to speak. Similar questions may be grouped and answered together. Please mute your microphone when you're not speaking for the sake of sound quality and clarity of conversation. If you're having connection issues, please turn off your video until called upon to ask a question. How to participate tonight. If you have questions after this meeting, they will be answered and made available by request within 5 business days and posted on the website speakupaustin.org/NPA. You can email or call me or Heather anytime with any questions or comments that you have. If you would like your written comments added to the staff case reports, we can do that as well. If you live within 500 feet and you receive this community meeting notice, when the cases are scheduled for Planning Commission and City Council, you'll get that notice in the mail and it will have instructions on how to participate in the public hearings. So why is there a neighborhood plan amendment? Neighborhood plans are adopted by City Council as amendments to the Imagine Austin Comprehensive Plan. City Charter requires zoning changes to be consistent with the comprehensive plan. Most neighborhood plan amendments are amendments to the plan's future land use map, and most NPAs have an associated zoning application. Excuse me. So this map shows in blue areas that have City Council approved neighborhood plans, most of which have a future land use map, which looks like this. And these colors represent broad land uses. For example, orange would represent multifamily and yellow would represent single family. But in this case, the existing land use is the specific regulating district, which is represented by the dark olive color with the white stipple white dots. This chart shows how these zoning districts excuse me, are considered typical zoning districts within the various land use categories. And since this property is within a TOD regulating district, Those straightforward zoning districts don't specifically apply, but has specific zoning as designated in the regulating plan. So this is the Plaza Saltillo Station Area Plan, and this is what the plan amendment application is essentially amending, which would be the land use and design concept map that you see here. And this is the regulating plan. This is what the zoning case will be amending, and it has an equivalent map in that document as well. So this map just shows a little bit close up where the property is located within the map area. And the existing zoning is corridor mixed use. And Dave Anderson will go in a little bit more detail about their zoning request, but this is just a general description of what corridor mixed use is. I'll give you a few minutes to read this. Okay, so this is the proposed, is the TOD mixed use. And again, Dave Anderson will go into more detail. So this is the aerial photo that shows the property. As you see, it's on the north side of East 7th Street, west of Concho Street. This is a Google map that just shows some of the surrounding uses of the property. This is a Google Maps screen capture of the site. This is a close-up of the specific regulating district land use of the property. This is the zoning map that shows it's a TOD zoning district. And again, this map shows the existing is the corridor mixed use, which is that light brown color, and the proposed is the TOD mixed use, which is the dark brown. This shows the property in relation to the Imagine Austin Comprehensive Plan's growth concept map with some bus routes added. So I will stop sharing my screen and Dave can start his presentation.
In theory, I can do that. Let's see what we can do. Oh, before we do that, let me do this. Can everybody see this?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you very much. My name is Dave Anderson. I'm with the Journal Group, and I just wanted to walk through kind of the request tonight with a little bit more information. Maureen has already hit on kind of the location. This is one tract that is part of an aggregation of tracts. The other two lots within that tract have already entitlements that work with the proposed project. And so we are just, although the project is broader than just this tract, this is the only tract that we're requesting a change on. So this is the tract that we're talking about. It's important to know, and we'll come back to this, this is a 43-inch heritage tree that exists on the site. As Maureen said, we are looking to change the land use from corridor mixed use to TOD mixed use. We are proposing a small boutique hotel. The rest of the information is going to be very familiar to you, obviously, for those of you that live in Saltillo Todd area. or have been around the city for a long time. Our entire site is 0.523 acres. This lot is about 0.14 acres of that 0.523. It's within a quarter mile. It's actually about 0.2 of a mile from the transit station. And the surrounding uses to the north are GO, CO, NP. That's the surrounding zoning. General office. It's currently vacant, but that has a height limit of 60 feet directly to the north and abutting Houston Tillotson. South, TOD NP, east, TOD NP, and to the west, TOD NP. What we are looking to do is combining the lot, the small lot, the individual lot that is the subject of this proposed amendment to the adjacent lot to the west. A lot of that portion of the lot to the west will preserve a heritage tree, which reduces our developable area. And so what we want to do is have an opportunity to utilize the height bonus that's afforded by the Saltillo Todd regulating plan to reach 60 feet in height. And I'll get to that in a little bit. The 60-foot height limit is consistent with the 3 tracks immediately to the west, the 2 tracks immediately across Concert Street to the east, and the majority of tracks across 7th Street to the south. Not all of them, but the majority of them to the south. In addition, there's a 60-foot height limit on the lots to the north. We also wanted to touch on this. We have been investigating a potential partnership with Houston Tillotson for a hospitality internship program. And we've developed a draft MOU with them, and that is currently in their hands. I can't get into any more details than that out of respect for them, but that's something that's of interest to us and we are pursuing. As Maureen said, this is the tract that we are talking about this evening. From a planning context perspective, there are City of Austin zoning principles through which these types of projects, it's the lens through which staff looks at these types of projects. And I've highlighted a number of those that we believe are appropriate. And I'll let you take a look at those and maybe queue up questions for the end if you have them. We also looked at the Saltillo Todd neighborhood plan and did the same thing here. We looked at what the goals are for the plan and how a project like this might meet those goals and those intents. So this is a snapshot from a transit and transportation perspective of where the lot is that we're seeking the land use change to. Again, it's on the corner of Concho and East 7th. It's surrounded by sidewalks, by bike lanes, a bus stop directly on 7th there and one across the street. And it's a 0.2 of a mile from the transit station. This is what I was talking about before. These are the height limits that are allowed in the Saltillo Todd regulating plan. Currently, the track that's highlighted in blue has a 35-foot height. So all we want to do is make that consistent with the lots to the west, make it consistent with the lots across Concho to the east, make it consistent with the zoning category that's outside of Saltillo Todd to the north, and make it consistent with, I would say, the majority of the tracks across 7th to the south. A big function of why we are seeking the ability to achieve this height is because we want to preserve this 43-inch heritage pecan tree as shown on the figure. So this was inspected by the city arborist in August of 2020. The importance of maintaining a tree canopy is important to the arborist. It's important to us, and I'm sure it's important to the folks that live in the neighborhood, that walk these streets, that bike these streets, etc. So we're proposing a building ultimately that would be designed around the critical root zone, building that would preserve the canopy to the greatest extent. We're going to look at preserving right-of-way trees if we can, and then street treatments will add additional trees on the sidewalks abutting the property. This is what the project would look like. So again, what we're talking about is a change of the land use plan for just this tract. Currently, it allows 35 feet. What we would like an opportunity to do is to apply for a height bonus in this, for this tract only, to allow us to achieve the 60-foot height. In order to do that, we would need to pay into the Housing Trust Fund fee in lieu payment to achieve that height bonus. But currently, as we're zoned, we don't even have that opportunity, even though these tracks all have a 60-foot height limit. These tracks, the tracks to the east have a 60-foot height limit. The zoning to the north allows 60 feet, and many of the tracks to the south allow 60 feet. That is it. So I'm open for questions. I see Marion is typing away.
Well, I can just talk about it. Hi, Dave.
Hi.
One of my properties, I believe, is right across that John's property.
Mm-hmm.
And my question to you, typically I understand that in order to create a change of zoning or to add height, there's some kind of community benefits, and I'd like to know what those are.
One of those is preservation of the 43-inch pecan tree. One of those community benefits is the bike and pedestrian facilities that you see just shown graphically here.
Can you point at the bike? I just don't understand what that is on your graphic. And the tree is preserved because it's a heritage tree. I have one of those in my backyard. So that one is preserved, it's a given. So it's not, you can't get rid of that one unless you pay like $100,000. But I'm interested to hear about the bicycle that you're talking about.
So I would probably defer to the engineer on this, but I believe that there will be both pedestrian and bicycle facilities in this area as part of the standard treatment of this block right here. And Tyler could probably talk more about that. And before I turn it over to him, Marion, I think from a community benefits perspective, we recognize the importance of that, and one of the reasons that we've reached out to Houston-Tillotson is to try to develop a program that might get some of the folks that are going to school there and that are interested in this kind of idea to set up a program between the two entities. So that's one of the things that we're investigating. And the other is community benefits are, in this situation, they are codified. So they're codified in the regulating plan. So if you seek additional height, you have to provide community benefits, and in this case, it is specified that you pay into the Affordable Housing Trust Fund, the Housing Assistance Fund, pardon me, to achieve that height.
I'm still confused. Can we go back on one item at a time? So you're talking about the pedestrian and bicycle facility. Does that mean that part of the building includes a facility for bicyclists that anybody can use? Is that what you're saying?
I'm saying that, that the sidewalks and facilities along the right of way of 7th Street.
Yeah, I can jump in, Dave, if you want.
Please.
On that. Yeah,
Please.
so Austin Transportation Department has improvements planned for 7th Street. In order to facilitate those improvements, they kind of need, these sites as they develop along 7th Street to incorporate the cross section that they have established for 7th Street for these, multimodal transportation. So what you're going to be looking at on 7th Street is kind of in between the hotel building and the curb, you would have a 5-foot clear zone, which is for pedestrian access. And then you would have a 7-foot furniture zone and tree zone, essentially. So that would be for people to have bike racks and, park benches, things like that within that street tree furniture zone. So it's kind of like a 12-foot pedestrian sidewalk zone along the property. And then there would be a bike lane, which would be immediately, at the front side of the curb, kind of parallel to the lane of traffic that would also be kind of part of that cross section when you'd have your lanes of travel. So there's going to be kind of a greater kind of enhanced feeling of pedestrian and bicycle kind of interaction, I guess, with this development is kind of what we're proposing.
I built my house in East Austin and I have to do a sidewalk. So will it be true that you still have to do it even if we don't have this height, that you have to provide the sidewalk and everything that you mentioned? I mean, if we as community decide that 60 feet is too high, and so you go back to your corridor mixed use, wouldn't be that you still have to have a pedestrian and bicycle facility? I think that's part of the code. So regardless of the height, you have to do that. And regardless of the height, you have to take care of the tree. So what I'm looking for is above and beyond of what is expected to be done on such a type of development. What kind of community benefits are going to come to us in the community? That's my question. Not so much what needs to happen if you develop the land, because I pay for the sidewalk, I have to take care of my heritage tree, and I build a house, okay, in East Austin. So what I like to know, above of what is required, whether you are on corridor mixed use or you go at 60 feet high, what kind of community benefits we are getting. And I love that you're working with Houston-Tillotson. I graduated from Houston-Tillotson, sweet. But that's not a done deal in any way. You're investigating. And so I like to know what is it that is in the plan, concrete, that will be a community benefit. For example, for me will be showers for the community when they're bicycling. That is something that is above of what is required. That will be a community benefit. Or perhaps another community benefit could be a place for kids to play. That will be a community benefit that is not required, but you're willing to give it in order to acquire these high feet. That to me is something that goes above of what is required.
Understood. So Mario, this community meeting is, the intent of this meeting is to have this conversation. So this is great. This is what we want to know. This is what we want to hear. You are right that we are investigating with Houston-Tillotson. I hope you recognize that that's not something that we had to do. That's something that we wanted to do because we think it's important for the community. What the regulating plan says, however, from a community benefits perspective, is it says if you want this height, you need to pay $12 per square foot on this bonus area to the Housing Assistance Fund, which can go, and you know how that works, right? It goes for housing assistance in a geographic area. So that is a codified in code. That is a codified community benefit. Now, does it preclude you from asking for things like showers and playscapes and those things? No, but I want to be clear that the code was written in that way because that is considered a community benefit. That is considered a community benefit by the folks that wrote the regulating plan. That, again, that doesn't mean that it's all of the community benefits, but it would be a substantial investment for those to achieve that height. So I think what we're here to do is to ask you exactly the things that you just mentioned. Like, what are the things that you would like to see?
Well, I'd like to know how much is the total that will be going to affordable housing.
Okay.
What's the calculated amount? Because right now, it's nothing that we can build for under 400,000, 300,000. So I just like to know how much will that be? Because $12 per square feet on my mind is kind of hard to think about what's the total. So I know really what is going to help. If it totals $100,000, I don't think it's going to help too much for affordable housing. It'll be nice to go to the bank, but as far as making a difference, I'm not sure. So
Understood.
really, I'm excited to hear what are some of the community benefits. I think doing this investigation with Houston Tillison is a nice creative idea, but I would like something concrete that will benefit the neighborhood. And, you know, I'm just throwing two ideas. I ride my bike and I would love to take a shower in a nice hotel and then go to work, right? Or I would love for families that have kids have a recreation area. It seems that you have a beautiful tree. Maybe we can have picnic tables or something. And that's what I'm coming from, is how is the community going to benefit by allowing this development? And I'll leave it there because I provided two ideas, but I love to hear the ideas from Jesusita and Nate as well.
Okay, very good. Thank you for your input. Before Jesusita and Nate jump in, I'm working on getting what that number is as far as estimated. Again, we're doing this early. This is developing as we go. We don't have all the answers. That's why it's kind of the iterative process where we come to you and we talk about things and then we refine it as we go. So as soon as I have numbers that are somewhat concrete, I'm happy to share them with you. Okay, very good.
Any more questions?
Yeah. Turn on the camera so you can see me. Yeah, some questions. And
Sure.
to echo what first, you can hear me okay? Perfect. All right. And to echo what Marion, is that how you pronounce your name?
Marion,
Right?
sí,
Marion.
gracias.
All right, perfect. Yeah, to echo what she was saying, with the tree, the idea of it being a community benefit, it sounds cool and all. However, a tree behind the hotel's fence doesn't really mean anything to anybody. So to put in a play area or that is actually welcoming to kids of the neighborhood and to get people visiting that area would definitely be something that's interesting.
Okay.
For the $12 a square foot, that's based, what's the square foot amount? Like, is that the extra square footage that you get? Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah,
Okay.
there's a couple of different ways that you calculate it, and it's super complicated and not straightforward. I've been on the phone with staff today to try to sort it out. But it is on the bonus area. So for this tract, we get a certain number of square feet below 35 feet, right? And above it, we get, if we go to 60, that difference, we would pay $12 per square foot on that difference. That's on height. There's also, it can be calculated on the Florida area ratio for the site overall. So it gets kind of complicated, but in general, it is the bonus area, the difference between what is allowed by right and what is defined in the plan as possible. I want to be super clear that we're not asking for anything that is not envisioned, it's not contemplated in the Saltillo regulating plan. So we're not said
You're not
very,
going beyond.
yeah,
what's
said very plainly, we're
allowed.
not going crazy, right? We're trying to play within the boundaries of what's defined.
And when you guys came to the Blackshear Prospect Hill neighborhood, which we greatly appreciate that you guys came out, I'm thinking I remembered the entire lot having a structure going all the way to the back, whereas the blue dash, everything within the blue dash, it looks like half the lot is being.
So
is that accurate, or
two things to mention there? The first, if you see the hatched area, it's probably tiny on your screen, but it says first floor motor court hotel units above. So,
gotcha.
but what we've done is gone back after that meeting, right?
Mhm.
And tried to take some of those ideas and scrub this a little bit to try to respond to some of the things that were mentioned there, right? And so that's kind of where we are. And again, this is early in the process, and we're here to kind of listen to what your issues are, see if we can
Okay.
accommodate them.
Yes, I see that now for the writing, basically
Yes.
on Concho Street. It says first floor motor court hotel units above. Okay.
Yes, sir.
And now I have a couple questions about the hotel itself. And I assume there's going to be a restaurant. Will there be a restaurant or a bar associated with the hotel, like a lobby bar, or lobby restaurant / bar, something like that?
I would, Keith Buchanan, you can jump in here. I think that the idea is that there is, but I don't know the type, the size, any of that stuff has been talked about.
Okay, because that was definitely some of my next questions related to the restaurant / bar would be the size of it, hours. Would there be events held there as far as maybe outside events, any amplified sound, things like that?
I'm writing like crazy. Keep going.
Oh, okay.
That's good. Okay.
Nate, this is Luke. This is Luke Thompson. I believe that yes, we intend to have a lobby bar. Still programming. This is all kind of chicken or the egg, you know, with these requests, and then moving forward with more programming. But yes, the intent is to have a lobby bar. And as far as events, you know, as you see, the site of the size of our site is pretty compact, and the kind of the outdoor courtyard area, you know, on to the west of the motor court is a pretty small, just outdoor space. You know, I don't really see there being events or concerts there. Per se, because I just don't think there's the space. But yes, a lobby bar has been contemplated, and it would be more of an intimate setting.
Okay. And right now you're thinking bar, not so much restaurant and bar.
Correct.
But, okay.
Yeah, we have space for the restaurant and bar.
Oh, and also I didn't preface that my questions are not just my questions, they're also coming from neighborhood members who were unable to make it here, due to work and family commitments, things like that.
Right.
And there's something else. Let's see how I think of it. We covered the bar. So you're not sure where things sit with HT just yet. And one of the concerns is definitely the precedent that this would set. So if this happens here, we want to make sure that anyone else looking anywhere else on the north side of 7th Street, any other developers, don't think, oh, well, because it happened here, now it's just free reign over the rest of 7th Street, the north side of 7th Street. Maybe you guys would be open to some sort of restrictive covenant, a private restrictive covenant that maximizes the height to 60 feet so that you don't get the 60 feet on this particular lot and then decide 18 months from now to sell the 4 lots to someone else who's looking to take advantage of some sort of like
Differences.
housing density
Yeah.
density
New
program,
TOT.
right? So that we don't end up with 90 feet
Right.
on those lots.
So
Does that make sense?
it totally does. From a precedent setting perspective, I think, first of all, I think we'd be very open to talking about a private RC that limits, as you discussed. We recognize where you're coming from. And I think that the language in that RC would reflect why this, you can't just take this idea and carbon copy it anywhere else in the TOD. There's specific circumstances why this might make sense, right? And if I were to go back to the slide that had the 60-foot height limits almost in its entirety all the way around, it's stuff like that. And so we could point that out in the restrictive covenant, and we could talk about, we'd definitely be open to talking about that with you guys. I think that's a real possibility. So.
Yeah. And something while I think of it, with the mention of the bicycle spaces, do you guys get a break on required parking if you provide X amount of bicycle spaces and X amount of like motorcycle?
To a point. To a
Okay.
point, right? There's a threshold over which if you add things, you no longer get credit. This project, they're going to have to go below grade for parking, so the parking gets really expensive. And so that, yeah, we're going to take advantage. We're going to try to balance making sure that we don't have on-street parking or parking overflow into the adjacent neighborhood. But we're going to take advantage of the parking reductions that are afforded in the code for sure. And if we want to talk about additional bike facilities, like Marion said, like shower facilities, bike storage, I think we're happy to have a conversation about it, and hopefully we could get to some place that would make a lot of sense for y'all. I think this is the beginning of a conversation, not the end. That's what I kind of want to keep coming back to.
Okay.
Well, or a continued conversation, right, from the Blackshear meeting that y'all had a month and a half ago, 2 months ago.
And then my other question was, or a couple of questions regarding the type of hotel. You mentioned a boutique hotel. Are there any brands you're contemplating, or brands that we would know that would, even though they might not be the ones, we have an idea of what those are? And then also I have a pricing question of what you mentioned. Going down for parking is pricey. So there must be, in your metrics, in your analysis, you must have an idea of what the nightly rate, the average nightly rate in season, and what the average nightly rate out of season would be expected to be for the project to make sense. So what does that pricing look like? Just out of curiosity.
I'll have to turn that over to Luke. I don't know that given that we're at the beginning of this, Nate, you might have expected this answer, but giving it that we're at the beginning of this and we don't know all of the things that other community benefits that folks might want, I don't know that we are at a place where we can talk about the specifics. Maybe we can get there towards the end, but I think we're still a moving target at this point. As far as brands, again, I'll leave that to Luke and Keith to talk about. I don't know if they're at liberty to say.
Yeah, again, Nate, it's a little bit of the chicken or the egg thing. We got to figure this situation out first to discuss brands or any further programming. But you know, I think we're going to position it either. If you look at East Austin, there's already 2 hotels there. More on the East Austin Hotel and the Arrive, and you know, I would say they're a little bit on the more higher end scale. I would say what we are thinking to build is you know, fits in below those. You know, we're not building a luxury hotel. You know, that's only for the rich and famous.
Right, but it's not.
Conversely, you're also not building a like a budget motel.
Tracy
Correct.
Whitty.
Yes,
Tracy Whitty mentioned
right.
Motel 6 today. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
all
no,
right.
no, absolutely not. It will be, you know, it will be, you know, a comparable hotel to what's there. But as far as pricing, you know, you know, different hotels and different scales, we're probably fitting in. I feel like those are more like high-end boutiques. We're probably, you know, in the hotel scale, I could get into the whole thing with you, and there are a bunch of different scales. You know, if those are upper upscale, we would be, you know, upper mid scale.
Okay.
Really quickly, I just want to say that I don't know enough about these things to speak intelligently about them. I mostly came to observe and kind of get a better understanding of what's happening at this location. But I wanted to thank Marion and Nate for doing a great job representing the property owners and asking questions. And my only question right now is parking on the north side of 7th Street. Anything north of 7th Street is free. So are you saying once a hotel gets put there that they're going to start charging for parking on the street there as well?
No, I don't think that we can. Jesucita, I don't think that is an assumption at all.
Okay.
The city drives parking meters in the public right of way. We have no say in that. So we have to park our facility to code on our property.
Mm-hmm.
Did that answer your question?
It did. Okay. My fear is that like it's going to become really popular, and then parking meters are going to end up on that side too, and that's kind of where our overflow parks.
Okay. I'm writing feverishly again. Okay.
I see Keith is typing. Let's see if he's adding anything.
I was just responding to Ms. Sanchez's question about John Hernandez. He's owned these properties for a very long time, and we're working on a joint venture where he would be a partner on the vertical development as well.
So the question, I know he owns them for a long time, just as long as I know him. He owns that. I still remember when he bought those 3 lots. My question have to do with local ownership and local business doing well. And for me, it will be important that the owner, he just happened to be a friend of mine, but whoever will have been, will be the one benefiting of this transaction, because it will be upsetting that then comes along a company from somewhere, New York or something, and they take advantage of the work, because if he's a local owner, we all know where he lives. And we see him at the chamber, and we see him at the coffee shop. So there is a pride behind. Like, I own property on 7th Street. My friends know it. I try to keep it pretty. I gonna probably zone it historic. I have a zoning historic property on Cesar Chavez. And for me, there's certain local pride when you own your business and your location. And it's upsetting when I mean, it's happening across the street from when I live. This lady owns this piece of land on Montopolis. The developers are trying to buy it, get all these apartments going. If she was the developer, I will be more inclined to it because she's here in Austin. She's been raised in Austin, but somebody comes out of town, they do their thing, then they leave, and we have to deal with that. So for me, it's important to know what's the journey of ownership as this is moving forward.
Yeah, and I'll just speak to that. We've been working with John for, it feels like a couple of years now on this project. We looked at a lot of different uses. The heritage tree limits this size. It's a very small lot aggregation. And from the very beginning, it's been envisioned that he was going to be a partner in it moving forward. And it's his option, but he has an option to be a partner in it moving forward. And that's what we've been talking about for 2 years. So that's all I can say, other than absolutely his intention is to actually be an owner of the property moving forward in the vertical development, not just selling the land.
I'll ask
I'd
him
also
tomorrow.
like to I'd also like to highlight, we're also local. I was born and raised here. Keith is from here, and this is why we
26 years.
Yeah, this is
I'm
why
sorry,
we initially.
Could you identify yourself? Because all I see is a 512 number.
I know. I apologize. I couldn't, for some reason, my Teams wasn't working. My name is Luke Thompson, and I'm partners with Keith in potentially developing the site. We're all local. And what you were describing earlier in your pride and of ownership, is why this whole area is so cool. It's why people love this area. And it's kind of a double-edged sword. It's what is driving all the growth in this area and the cool factor. And so we take pride in that as well. And, it's why we approached Houston Tillotson with this idea. And the ball's really in their court. And again, it's chicken or the egg, in starting the process. But we can say that they are very interested in this deal. And yes, it's not a done deal, but we are, we aren't educators. It's in their court to work with us on that front. But we brought this up to them, and we didn't have to, and we wanted to because we feel like it would greatly increase the visibility of HT and help the neighborhood.
And just to add to that, they are actually the owners of the land to the north.
I just want to clarify that the driving force of this area is gentrification. Okay, let's just call things as they are. And we are losing our culture. We're losing our character. We're losing our families. And we're losing our way of life on this area. I've been involved on this area since I came to Austin. And so I just love that you put in a positive note, but let's just call it the way it is. It's been gentrification. It's lack of affordability. And so my goal for today as a person that is still holding on barely for what I got many years ago is to figure out an avenue that somehow our families will stay, avoid the rise of property taxes, and have some hope by enjoying a pretty place that they can bring their families. Not the white families, although I appreciate them, but mostly the families that we have lost in Austin. And so that's my only goal here, is to figure out an avenue that the families that are staying here, and if they have to move out, they still can enjoy it. A nice meal, like Mr. Ned mentioned, at a moment, a picnic under that beautiful tree. And maybe if you use your bicycle, and of course, I don't have more ideas. Those are the ones that come to me. I'm sure that if we open the umbrella, we will hear more, but somehow bring a little bit of hope to the families that are still here. Mr. Nate lives on the neighborhood. I'm sure he'll enjoy walking down the street and having a drink with his family or children. And so that's my goal. But the driving force is gentrification. That's what is growing in this area. I can't even recognize when I'm driving around. I get disoriented.
I hear you. And part of the reason we're here today is to listen to you and see what we can do to address those issues. Obviously, we're not going to solve gentrification today, but to your points, we're going to hopefully we can get to a place that addresses some of them. So thank you for thank you for that.
Okay, any more questions?
Thank you all very much, Maureen, Jesse, and then Jesucita, Nate, and Marion as well. Thank you very much for your input and taking time.
Okay.
Thank you
So
for the dialogue. I appreciate the conversation.
Thank you.
Okay. So I'll just go briefly what the next steps will be. So the planning team will meet and we'll make a recommendation on the plan amendment side. The zoning planners will meet. They'll make a recommendation on the zoning side. We'll work with the Central East Austin Planning Contact Team on the timeline to get a recommendation. We haven't scheduled the cases for Planning Commission or City Council yet. We'll keep everybody informed of that and then give you the deadline in order to get your letter of recommendation added to our staff case reports. And we'll just keep in touch with Dave on how, and if there's any future meetings scheduled with the neighborhood, and then we'll go from there. Any questions on the process?
Timeline?
We don't know yet. It depends on when the zoning recommendation is finalized, working with the applicant. So we don't have even an estimate for Planning Commission, City Council yet.
Would you help me understand what are the community next step? I mean, Dave said that this is the beginning of the conversation. How do we continue the conversation? I'm not clear how that happened.
So this was the ordinance required community meeting. So any meeting after this one would be something the neighborhood would work with the applicant directly. And we would just ask the applicant and the neighborhood if they wish to just keep us informed. And if there are zoning questions, you would need to contact Heather within these discussions. If it's a plan amendment question, you can contact me. And once there is some kind of, I guess, determination that people are ready to move forward, then we'll start looking at Planning Commission and City Council dates.
Maureen, if I could, what that means is we're going to go back and put our heads together based on the information we received today, have a conversation, and then we'll reach back out to y'all and to the neighborhood. And we'll do that within the timeline that's set out. We'll do that before it goes to Planning Commission or Council.
Okay.
That's
good.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, we will just keep us informed if there's any, I guess, meetings, and then, when you feel that you're comfortable moving forward to Planning Commission, just let us know.
Okay.
Anything else? Okay.
Thank you all very much.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye, y'all.
Bye, everybody.
Thank y'all.
Thank you.
Thanks.